All right, welcome back to the Drain Plug podcast. We got a special guest here today, Mr. A-Dub,
What
Anthony
up?
Jones from Brigade Boats. And then, as usual, we have Wish.com, Dale Earnhardt Jr.,
What's up?
Ryan,
No.
Ryan Fishing.
No signatures, please.
Isn't that what he looks like if you bought
Dude, you're
Dale
just coming out
Earnhardt
swinging.
Jr.?
I didn't even know the name of this. The drain plug?
the Drain Plug? We actually brought you here to do this podcast and didn't even tell you what it's called.
Yeah, that's
It's called the
Well, I
drain
just
plug.
trusted the process.
Just trust the process. So, what are we
Man.
talking about today? Oh,
And
that's right. I forgot. We talked about this earlier. We are talking about your first Jon Boat. We're going to talk about our first Jon Boats.
Popping that cherry.
Yep. We're going to get into the beginnings of all of our Jon Boat lives and how we got into it. And then we're also going to talk about some things that we hear being in the boat business all the time about people wanting to buy their first Jon Boat. And then we'll see where the conversation takes us from there.
we might not get too far.
We might not get far, especially with Anthony here. All right. Start us out. After you take a long sip of your drink out of your fancy Yeti
All right,
cup.
so we're doing first John Boat build.
Yeah. Well, hold on. First,
Not like
Yo,
what got you into wanting a Jon Boat in the first place?
okay, so this is a story I've kind of told. So some people know, some people don't. I think it's in one of my videos. The Jon Boat that I still own that was my first Jon Boat, I didn't acquire until I was in my early 30s. And it was a wedding gift for me and my wife. But now it's just my boat.
And that's
It's still a family boat, but not really.
the gray one, the Top
The gray
Gun,
one, the Top Gun
that
Jon Boat.
started it all.
The one that started it all.
Hold on. Now, did you fish before that?
Yeah, so so let me back up. So I grew up in Florida, and so I grew up, brackish water fishing, saltwater, inshore surf, fishing for reds and snook and stuff, and flats fishing. Didn't really do deep sea or offshore too much, but that's what I did. And then in my early 20s, I moved to Georgia, and I had met my wife at UGA, and she had taken a job in Alabama. And I kind of ended up like following her over there. And one thing led to another. And I was just bored as hell in Jacksonville, Alabama. And I just went up to Walmart and got like a Zebco and started going to the Coosa River. And that's kind of where I got into bass fishing. I mean, we fished for bass some growing up, but it was mainly we'd just go to the beach and stuff. So got into that. And then when we had gotten engaged, I kept razzing my dad. I was just like, hey, man, you going to get us a bass boat for our wedding gift? That would be awesome. Because my dad had retired from the military, and he bought some ranch in Oklahoma and stuff. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, man, get us a bass boat. Let's do this. And lo and behold, they show up the day before the wedding with this daggum 14-foot Jon Boat with a Honda 8 horsepower on it. And I was excited. It was pretty cool. And we got married, and the next week I think we had it at the Coosa River, and just putting around. But looking back, it's just funny that was a wedding gift. So,
All right. So you got it as a wedding gift, but where did that transition take you to where you were, I just have this boat to where I'm going to start modding it out, and then you went full-blown YouTube retard on it?
Yeah. So my wife took a job at Georgia, and we moved back to Georgia from Alabama in 2014. We got married in 2012. So I had the boat a couple years, and I didn't really mess with it. We took it out, and it kind of sat. And we moved back to Georgia, and that was around the time that I'd started looking at stuff that I could possibly do. I think I'd seen Mike's channel. And then the first dude was Ryan. I got on Instagram, and I was like, whoa, this dude's crazy. He's got it looked like he was a plumber because he had all this stuff going on with the live well and this insulation. I was just dumbfounded because I'm looking at this freaking machine, and it's in this storage unit. And I'm like, this guy's got this storage unit he's building this insane boat out of. And I started watching. That's really what got me. It wasn't even YouTube. I didn't even get on YouTube. I didn't mess with it. It was totally Instagram, I saw his thing on it, because somebody was showing me how to use hashtags. And I was like, what would you do? And they're like, you do this. And I was like, so I do like Jon Boat to Bass Boat or something. And his stuff was popping. I was like, whoa, and of course I saw it and it really confused me. So I looked at it and I was impressed, but I said, that's cool, but I'm not doing that. We're not going to do that. Like I just need like a deck, maybe a little bit of carpet. That guy's crazy. He's got a problem. And, but now that we know what we know and what happened is pretty funny. But, yeah, I got on there and I'd seen some stuff and just kind of got into it. And, one thing led to another and here we are.
Okay. We are here.
Awkward silence.
Awkward silence. Hold on. I think we got crickets for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could keep it going. Started working on the boat and started doing some framing to it. And I knew that I didn't want to mess with back then. Really, I didn't see a whole lot of aluminum stuff going down from like a DIY standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So, I did the 2x2 wood construction. Back in the day when I was in college, I worked for my uncle and I did like construction work. So I had like some tools and a little bit of knowledge. And for the longest time in my 20s, I had a really nice car that I modified. And at one point I had a crotch rocket. And so I've always kind of been into that style of like stuff that's like modified. I don't really like stuff that's stock. I see something, I'm like, man, that's cool, but man, that's cooler. And so that was the thing with the boat. And I saw what Ryan was doing, but I wasn't going to go down that road. But after I started doing stuff, it was almost like a alcoholic or a drug addict. Like I just started justifying everything. I'm like, oh, if I'm already going to do this, then I might as well cut this out. And if I'm going to do that, I might as well do that. We might as well just do it. And I went back and forth. There's times where I kept changing stuff on the fly, but that boat ended up being really cool. And, I was posting stuff on Instagram and it wasn't like I was, nowadays people get on Instagram or YouTube and they're like, I'm going to come up with a handle and I'm going to like jumpstart this thing and start this following and this movement. I was literally just A-Dub Jones, which I still am on Instagram. So if you're not following, shameless plug there, but it was literally me just like posting photos of that, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing, just a guy just kind of sharing the boat stuff. And then, of course, the TBNation group. And, man, back then, I think I was, like, in the first under 50K, When I got on there, man, it might have been, like, 25 or 30K.
You're talking about the Facebook group?
Yeah, the Facebook group, Tiny Boat Nation.
The
and,
whole book
I mean,
face.
that thing exploded. And it's just crazy how far, like, everybody, like, literally just doing this and sitting here and just seeing the day-to-day ops. It's crazy to see how far, like, everybody that I kind of came up through this counterculture with to like where we're at. I mean, for everybody.
Now, when did you make the actual transition from just posting pictures of your build on Facebook and Instagram to deciding to go with YouTube?
So I was doing some stuff on the page on Instagram, and honestly, I didn't, there wasn't a lot of growth there. I get some followers and stuff, but I also wasn't doing it to get followers. It's more along the lines of like sharing my project, kind of sharing my journey. I was proud of what I was doing. I thought it was going to be cool. But when I put it on Tiny Boat Nation, I was getting, a lot of reactions and stuff. And people were, man, you should. I had more than, a few people. Hey, you got a YouTube video? Hey. Yeah. And that's kind of, again, a guy that I never really even got on YouTube. That's when I saw Ryan's stuff. I watched him before. I'm sorry, Mike, but I watched Ryan before I even really knew who Mike Lopez was.
Mike is listening. I'm
yeah,
sure.
I know.
He's probably extremely offended right now.
But that's kind of how I got into it. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just like, oh, shoot, I'll do a video or something. And I was already halfway done with my boat. I think the first video I did was on my live well, and I filmed it on my Galaxy, like S7 or S6. I got like a free app, InShot.
Oh yeah,
and
I still have that.
And I watched I watched the commercials so I could remove they'll play it like prompt you like a 30-second commercial so you could remove the
watermark.
The watermark.
Yeah.
And I edited it
Did you ever have that app?
No.
The InShot? I still have it.
I went crazy and I went all in on a 15-inch MacBook for the iMovie. That's what I did.
Well, you went a whole nother realm.
I
than
did,
everybody
but at
else
that
did.
point, I was already. I mean, I think at the beginning, I was just using. I don't. What was the Microsoft one? It had to have been a Microsoft.
Microsoft app?
They had like a free video editing software.
I don't know. Was
It was not
Windows
good.
Movie Maker?
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah.
It was not good.
Ron was legit because I was watching his stuff and I would see his camera and stuff, and I'm just like, well, my videos are just gonna have to suck because I'm not buying all that, you know. and again, from a production standpoint of what he was doing and then what he was building, I didn't feel like I was even in the same category.
Yeah.
It just kind of escalated, and if anything, I don't think from a fabrication sense, there's some certain stuff on the Top Gun Jon Boat that's like cool, but I don't think it was anything more than what Ryan did with his boat, because when that reveal video came out, man, that thing was clean. And the video was really well done. So I actually looked at him like, that's a YouTuber and that's a bad A boat. And then what I was doing was just like, I'm just sharing what I'm doing, and I suck at making. I'm just gonna put it out there. If there's like a couple people that want to see,
Yeah.
maybe it'll help somebody, and then it would be cool to kind of reflect, upon one day, go back and watch my process. I didn't realize it was gonna get, views.
Like it is now.
Yeah, and I mean, but that's the funny thing, and I think you guys could probably agree, no matter where you're at in life, you're always, well, at least maybe I just speak for myself. I have a goal and then I get there and it's like, there's always that next thing.
Yeah.
And
All right.
so, but I guess that's what keeps you motivated, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to look back and think of me and even like you guys and Nate and Mike.
Yeah.
Dude, if you watch the original reveal video of the Top Gun Jon, but the finished video, at the end, I'm like, y'all check out Mike. Like, he's about to hit like 50K on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, he's like about to hit 150K now.
Now, for anybody that's listening that doesn't watch us on YouTube or know about your YouTube channel, the Top Gun Jon Boat that he keeps referring to is that first Jon Boat.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of got you in here. So
Yeah.
if you go to watch his channel, it's Brigade Boats
So
now. But
in a nutshell, it was the wedding gift that I decided I wanted to make nice, and it just kind of escalated. But still, at the end of the day, it was built out of 2x2 red cedar rough cut lumber that I ripped down, freaking Rust-Oleum oil-based enamel, Alumahawk paint job on the outside. I did these, I was inspired by the Flying Tigers of World War II, so I hand painted the shark's teeth on the outside, and it just looks mean, and it's a Grumman 1436, but the hull is just a really unique hull. It just looks like a shrunken down, kind of like that low 170.
Yeah.
Maybe not as curvy on the side, but it just does something when I look at it. It just looks cool.
yeah. So
but-
I'm gonna stop you there
Yep.
because we're gonna get his story, and then y'all two stories kind of converge if
Yeah,
we keep
yeah,
going further in
yep.
history, and then I kind of weasel in there later on. So all right, Wish.com, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yes.
Where did you get your inspiration to start with Jon Boats? Or well, you take us back even further than that. What got you into wanting to do Jon Boats and fishing in the first place?
Wish.com.
Wish.com. Okay, that's what I kind of figured.
Yeah. No. No, I used to work at Bass Pro in high school, and I had a good friend, Lance, that I worked with, and he would take me out in his dad's Riverhawk, and we'd go bass fishing. And then on Saturdays when we were out, you could always tell that the tournaments were going, High Voltage has been going for
Long time.
20, 30 years
Yeah.
maybe at this point. So we would see those guys out on the water on the weekends, and that was when I first saw the electric outboards, the Elcos. That was the only thing anybody was running, or the Briggs & Stratton electric outboard. And then we couldn't go fishing one day. I was like, hey, man, Lance, you want to go fishing? Let's go take your boat out, dude. Let's go, And he's like, dude, we can't. And I was like, why? He's like, my dad's rebuilding the boat. I was like, what are you talking about? What is there to rebuild? Like, it's a fiberglass little canoe thing, And we go to his house, and his dad's got this thing stripped apart, and he's fiberglassing in the front deck, the rear deck, putting in carpet, hatches, all
Oh,
this
he's
stuff.
going all
and he
out.
went crazy. I mean, it looks great. I actually need to do a video on that boat. But when I saw him doing that, that was when that opened my mind to all this other stuff.
Okay. So when did you get your first boat?
So then I went to, while I was in the Marine Corps, I had to take leave because I had so much built up, but I couldn't go anywhere because I had so many medical appointments. So we bought a 1436 from a civilian that was working on base for $400. I took it over to my buddy's. He was living in a trailer at the time.
$400. God, those days are long gone.
400.
Long gone. Have you seen the price of boats lately? It is nuts. Nuts. Anyways, I'm sorry. Go
You're
ahead.
good. I took it over there. Worked on it for one day. I bought one sheet of 3/4 inch plywood, a drill, some screws.
Is it that Ryobi back there that you refuse to get rid of?
No, it's actually the Cobalts.
Oh, really?
I bought
You
those.
still have those?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Built this thing in a day, put decks on it and carpet, and then me and my roommate at the time would just take it every weekend down an hour to Wilmington, to the only freshwater lake around, and we would put in at sunup, and we would stay out there all night until sun went down. And we didn't have enough time in to put a motor on it, because in North Carolina you had to have a license and all that stuff. And so we were just paddling around using little mushroom anchors to get in the spots. And dude, we were wearing the fish out. There were dudes in bass boats coming by that couldn't catch fish around us.
Y'all were bass
And we
fishing?
we were killing it. And ended up selling or giving that boat to another kid on base, came home, and then that's when I found my then I had a 1236 that I did, and that is actually the first boat that was on my channel. And it wasn't a build, it was just like a reveal video.
Okay.
And that was a 12-footer. But then when I got that thing in the water, it had no room. The front would sit down like this when you were, standing on the bow.
Yeah, yeah.
The back would be out of the water. It was very tipsy. Couldn't have two people in there at all. So got rid of that one pretty quick, and then bought the 1648. And that was when it got crazy. Then I had to get the storage unit. Then I bought the next storage unit next to mine once it got open. And I would stay up there all night long almost every day.
All right, so same thing I kind of asked Anthony earlier. When did you go from I'm just a guy working on my boat in my storage unit to I want to do this on YouTube?
I don't know. Well, I was following at the time. I guess it goes back to the Marine Corps, where like I couldn't do a whole lot of stuff, and so I would sit in the barracks and play video games, Call of Duty, and Call of Duty was big on YouTube at the time, and that was when like Optic Gaming was coming up, and you could really see where these guys were making a lot of money on YouTube doing those videos. So that was like, I was just trying to do something different on YouTube, but under something that I enjoyed more than just sitting in a screen and playing video games.
Gotcha.
So that was kind of the inspiration of putting it all on YouTube, was seeing what those guys were doing on video games and just trying to do it for fishing.
Now, did you get into the aluminum game from, like, did you see that from someone else, or did you just kind of come up with that on your own, or?
I think, honestly, I started to do it in wood. Or I did my first one in wood and realized how heavy it was. And I figured maybe I can kind of do this hybrid thing where I do the framing in aluminum, because I didn't know where to get sheeting.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll do the frame in aluminum and then do the deck in wood. And I'm pretty sure that was something me and Mike talked about before I really went like full into aluminum, because that aluminum got expensive,
Yeah.
especially at 1/8 inch, and it was heavy.
So you started doing YouTube at the same time, about the same time Mike did, and y'all became
Mike
connected
started,
through YouTube?
yeah, probably 6 or 8 months before I did.
So what did you just see one of his videos and just be like,
No, I didn't even see. It was literally just from seeing people around here.
Oh,
like,
okay.
these guys that fish these trails, these electric trails, that have been doing it for 20 plus years. You know, they were doing what me and Mike were doing a long time ago.
yeah,
They were using road signs. They were using anything they could get their hands on to make a deck in the front and get some storage into that boat. So that's where the inspiration really came from.
okay,
Yeah, and for everybody kind of following along, if you don't know or do know, so Ryan and Mike linked up sometime around and Mike is Mike Lopez,
Yeah.
Tiny Boat Nation.
the original Tiny Boat
And
Nation.
so Ryan and Mike had linked up around the early, what year would you say it would be? I guess like,
It had to have been 2015, 2016.
yeah. So, and this was like in the early days of the Facebook page. And didn't
Yeah.
you help start the Facebook page?
I was technically the first member in the Facebook page.
So the Facebook page now, I don't know, do you know the stats on subscriber or?
It's like 200.
Yeah, over
200K?
200,000 now. Yeah.
So he was like, you and Mike were ahead of the whole game in the first one. And like you said, guys have been doing this. I mean, it's nothing new. There's stuff that people do all the time. It's just taking the time to film it and put it on YouTube. And
there
honestly,
wasn't a lot on YouTube at that
no,
time.
no, there wasn't. That's why. And
There was
this
nothing.
so this is around the time, and that's why I'm able to kind of piece it together and tell the story. When we came back to Georgia in 14, I think I started that boat in 16,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's around the time that I found your content, and then kind of found Mike.
Yeah, because I got out of the Marine Corps in 2014. And then, I mean, it was right after that is when so I might have made my first video in 2014.
Yeah.
Early 2015. Somewhere
Yeah.
in there.
And I don't think I made my first video until 2018. I had my boat like in the garage for a few years, piddling on it here and there.
Okay. So, at what point did you two connect?
Somewhere
Who
around.
remembers y'all's first date?
I don't even remember our first conversation.
I hit him up on Instagram because I was fanboying him, and I saw that he had Georgia. I saw he had Georgia registration on his boat, and I was like, dude, this guy's in Georgia. And I was working on my boat, and I hit him up, and he was super cool. And at some point, we just linked up. I remember he came out. We were buying land to build a house. I remember you came out, and I don't know if you hunted or just scoped it out.
I tried to hunt.
We had he put I remember you put a trail cam up.
Yeah.
Well, you actually changed your
We
YouTube
caught a guy
name.
on your all's property.
Yeah,
with
so
my trail
and that's
cam.
a whole funny story too. Apparently, there's a neighbor across the street that had like land rights to hunt on all this farm, but they broke it up into lots and sold it, and everybody's building houses. But he's just like, I'm still gonna go over there and hunt. And so he put a trail cam out, and he was like, hey, dude, there's a guy like over there with his son, like right by my camera.
In a tractor.
Yeah, he rode over there in a tractor.
Oh God,
But he's cool. He's probably watching.
probably. So, but you actually, so when you finished your boat the first time, you were getting out of the storage unit, and then you started doing some hunting stuff, or you were trying to do some hunting stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, well, I moved into that apartment.
Okay.
So that was what sunk it all. The apartments suck. I hated that. That was the worst year of my life. And that was right at the pinnacle of all my stuff going big on YouTube. So when I stopped, I didn't have anywhere to keep the boat. Didn't have anywhere to work on anything.
But you two stayed in touch, though.
Kind of off and on. I mean, it wasn't.
Nah, yeah, it was. I remember hitting him up, and we talked a little bit, and I think it was around like COVID or like 2020 that like we fished.
It was because I moved into the house 2019, and that was when I tore the boat apart and started working on it again. And then that didn't get far.
Yeah,
It's still sitting out back.
It's still sitting out
We're
back.
gonna finish it one day,
empty.
I promise.
yeah.
So this is about the point of the story where I come strolling in.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
so we'll get to that in a second. So my backstory, we grew up around boats. My dad had more boats than I remember. I know the last one I remember was when I was in my teens. He had a really, really nice Ranger that was my granddad's, and my dad took it over. We had that for years. And then when I turned 17, I bought my first Jon Boat. It was 1436, kind of like yours. Oh, I can't even remember what brand it was. But first thing I did with it, went to Bass Pro Shop, seats, made a plywood deck, the whole 9 yards, because I had seen these two idiots. No, this was before then. I had seen it on the internet somewhere where people were doing the plywood decks. So fast forward a few years, I had a few Jon Boats in between. I got into the mud motor thing because it was really cheap and it was an easy way to get out on the water.
Yeah. And
then it was probably 2015, 2016. I was watching you and Mike back and forth because I was still working my government job back then. I worked night shift, and I used to hide behind buildings and watch YouTube at night.
That's not weird.
No, not at all. But it was quiet, and I didn't have to worry about hobos like sneaking up on me. But I was actually watching you and Mike's video, and I decided to buy the boat that I have now, my 1648. Then I got busy with my hydro dipping business. I let it sit for like 3 years, and I decided to start doing promotional videos for one of the paint companies that I worked with. And they were like, we're thinking about getting into boat paint. Would you do a boat paint video for us? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I've got a boat sitting in my front yard and hadn't done nothing with it in years. I need to strip it down and paint it. So I started doing that, and you popped up on my YouTube like homepage, and I had watched everything you did with the Top Gun Jon Boat, and then I happened to see that you were in Georgia. So I was like, well, hell, let me email this guy and just, hey, look, I run a hydro dipping business. Let me do something for free for you to kind of advertise for my channel, because I was doing YouTube for hydro dipping. And you actually like emailed me right back, and then we had a phone conversation and kind of took off from there.
That's all she wrote.
Yep. And then you introduced me to him, which I was a huge fanboy because I had been watching him and Mike since,
Yep.
they started doing that. I didn't think I'd watched every single video that you made in that storage unit.
That's sad. I'm sorry.
And I had watched most all of Mike's videos too.
Yeah.
So
What's funny, because I was like trying to slide into his DMs. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, who's this weird guy with this freaking shark boat? And then you're like emailing me trying to slide in that way. But dude, even back, well, now if you email me, I'm sorry if I don't reply.
that was back when you were still.
I know. And on Instagram,
had,
I promise if you send me something, when I hire somebody, you'll get a response. I really try, but with your email, it was just like the title was like, your biggest cousin fan in Georgia or something.
It was something ridiculous.
Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, what is this? And so obviously I had to open it.
Yeah.
And then you had typed, I was like, well, he's got good grammar. He can spell. Like, he's kind of funny. Like, seemed like a good dude. I'll call him, see what he needs, And then here we are.
Yeah.
So.
And I had no intention of getting into the Jon Boat game at all. Like, I literally was just like, hey, let's do something together so that you can promote my hydro dipping business and I'll promote your Jon Boat channel. And then I got screwed.
Yeah. And then, well, further down the line, I remember you had painted. It might have been the gray boat I did for the guy in Tennessee, and we're jumping way ahead of the story.
Yeah.
But I did a customer project, and then Ryan was like, hey, man, who's that guy that's painted your boats? You mind introducing him to me? And then y'all linked up.
Yep.
And now y'all are like business partners or something over here.
Yeah, doing something.
Get to work together every day.
It's because he tells me he loves me every time he hangs up the phone.
I do. I used to say that to everybody, but
he really does. And then when I found out,
I thought I was the only one.
I know. I was like, "Hey, man, what's up with that? Like, I just heard you talking to Nate, and you're like, love you, bye."
Yeah.
I'm a little offended.
yeah, I'd like to do weird
So
stuff.
where do you want to
sometimes.
pick up the backtrack? Because I jumped ahead a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's not too much of a backtrack. I mean, the three of us, that's how we got.
That's how we met.
Yeah,
and
that's how
stuff,
the
and
three of
kind
us
the
met.
Origin story.
I painted a few boats for you while I was
Yeah.
still doing the hydro dipping thing, and then I worked
You
with you a
painted
little
one
bit. I
for
painted
me.
one for you,
Yeah.
and I don't know which one of you two idiots decided to tell me to start a Jon Boat channel. One of y'all did.
No, I think you did that.
I think
on
you
your
did.
own.
I think
Did
you
I
did
really?
that. I think you did that.
I still don't know
you
how
said-
that started.
I'm gonna make a YouTube channel, and I'm gonna do Jon Boats and mud motors, and I'm gonna destroy all of you.
Yeah, that
Sounds
was
like
it.
something I would say.
Yeah, that was it.
I honestly don't remember how I
Yeah.
started. It must have been like a crazy wild idea I had one day.
But we started talking, and you and we started talking, and I don't even remember if I had my second boat. So back then, the YouTube was getting like views, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. So we're probably talking 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at in my storyline. So I was getting views, and I remember I worked at the University of Georgia in athletics on athletic turf. So like we mow grass and paint fields and do, it's a cool atmosphere. But I remember, I just remember being at like some buffet, and I was with my boss, and I was like, look at my numbers. I could pay my cell phone bill. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
On YouTube, I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool. Like I got
$70.
I remember like my first check from YouTube was I don't know, it was like $26 or something. And you got to get back then it was I think 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours.
It's still like that.
And then I just remember when I got it, I thought I'd won the lottery because I remember calling my wife and I'm like, you need to set up the direct payment with they need the router number. I thought it was just like, dude, I thought it was about to rain money. You know what I mean? And then I got the first check, it was like $26.
Yep.
And then that's my reality. Like this is how they pay. You're not what you think this is going to be. And so it was funny. So at some point I was making cell phone bill paying money, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Low expectations, high gratitude. Like that's cool. But, I'm not bathing in money or anything, but like we all do, like we work in this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I worked at UGA for 8 years, and I think it was 2021. Yeah, it was 2021. 2020, COVID kind of skewed some numbers for me on YouTube. And I was like, wow, we keep doing this. Little did I know everybody's stuck at home with nothing to do. So
Yeah.
COVID was like the greatest and worst thing that ever happened to the boating industry all at the same time.
Yep. So I was doing the math in my head, and I'm like, I make this doing what I'm doing, and I'm making this on YouTube. Well, if I combine that with a couple other things, I could just do this and never have to leave my house again. And so just kind of lined up some projects of some guys. For the longest time, guys would reach out. They'd see, my boat, and they'd be like, hey, man, would you do one? And I'd always say no because I had a full-time job. And I didn't want to take a project that would sit in my yard for 9 months. It wouldn't do them any justice. I would be stressed out. So just took that leap, and still doing boats, and social media keeps growing, and just able to make ends meet. Take opportunity when one's presented. But it's all good, man. And then y'all have grown too. So
Yeah, because this Yahoo got me out of doing hydro dipping and was like, let's go into the boat business together.
Pretty sure you came on to me first.
Oh, I 100% do not remember it that way.
So back in, what was it? I guess it was 2020. Ryan started doing boats again on YouTube and doing some customer stuff. And then that's when y'all linked up. And then from there, you guys can tell that story since I'm interviewing you guys.
You were over at my house. I was painting a boat for you, and we talked about it. You were like, man, I want to do this full time, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I like what I'm doing now. But I'm always looking for another opportunity. So I was like, we can try this out, see how it goes. And here we are.
Yeah.
Now we have another YouTube channel. Plus, we're helping out Mike now. And we have the store. We've been building boats, but that's coming to a little bit of a halt. It's just gotten to be a lot. You're still building boats.
I'm still building boats. But building boats is not as easy as the guys on YouTube make it look.
No,
It's a lot of hours.
That's a lot of hours.
A lot of hours.
And they just seem to get bigger and bigger every time.
Yeah, because, I mean...
The project, not the boat.
I don't know. Rednecks with paychecks.
Pimping on pennies, baby.
It's like you build one, it's like, this is the best, the greatest. And then the next guy's like, hold my beer,
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I want 9 Apex 14s. I want 13 lithium batteries. I'm going to be the first to have a Garmin trolling motor, but I also want the new Power Pole trolling motor on this side. Like, I don't know, just something stupid. These guys it's crazy, man, what some people are doing.
Yeah,
it's not me though. I still got plywood, Home Depot outdoor carpet, Hell, I don't
But
even
it's-
have a trolling motor on my
It's
boat.
funny to
Cuz.
think about, though. Is your boat that started your YouTube channel, you still have it. Yours, you still have it in pieces, but you have it. And I still have mine. We're still rocking the same old boats.
Hey, the money don't change us.
One who does not.
What money?
What money?
Where's the money? There's money. Where the fuck do we get money?
You gotta hit the button for that.
Where's which one?
I don't know, dude.
Oh, we got so many. I hope everybody could hear that. It was
Yeah.
just a wild trombone thing. We still
Yeah.
haven't figured this whole DJ thing out yet. We're getting there.
Yeah.
As
I
the
like
podcast
this up.
progress,
Yeah, man.
we'll get a little bit better.
You're
We're
like
all still
a
new to this.
you're like a bearded white Kanye over here with this thing, dude.
I don't know about that. That dude's kind of crazy.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
He got issues.
I don't know. That's what the legacy media wants you to perceive.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Here we go.
There's always another side.
There is always another side. All right, so shifting gears a little bit. Both of you, I want to hear what your opinion is now. For being in the boat business as long as you have, both of you, and you see a lot of new people on the Facebook group and, people just getting into this for the first time. What's your advice to them, knowing what you know now, having been down the road that most of them are thinking about going?
Like on a DIY aspect?
Yes.
I'd honestly say just watch all of our videos. Like, we tested and tried a lot of things. We did a lot of trial and error back in the day. And things that we thought
Yeah.
would work that don't work, and don't work for reasons that we didn't even know were possible.
Yeah.
One of those things is that chill box mod. That one always sticks out to me so much, because if you could get a chill box mod to work perfectly, it would be amazing. But you can never get it to work perfectly. So it always is just a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I don't even use mine. It's just my cooler.
Right. Like,
I mean, I guess it works, sort of.
Have you
the
used
issue
it?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not a scientist. I don't know if it's legit, like, changing. I mean, I'm assuming that 5 foot of line running through my ice cooler is going to cool the water.
Somewhat.
But I mean,
but we always had a problem of airlock.
yeah, I got you.
And so it would never, like, pump consistently
Yeah.
into the live well and do that recirculation. And then there's also that question, is it even sitting in there long enough to make a difference? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or is, I don't know. But
So stay away from the chill boxes.
if you, but like, that's just been one of those, that's been the thing that has been, how would you say it? Kind of like always in the back of my mind, I guess.
Something that you remember.
It's
That,
like, man, I just wish I could figure that out.
yeah.
Well, what he's saying is kind of what I would say, but in a broader way, is just keep it simple. I would
Yeah.
just say keep it simple. And I know that's it's like I'm a hypocrite, because when you look at the stuff I'm building now, they're by no means simple. But based on guys that are getting into this, and they want an aluminum boat and they want to like deck it out, but they don't want to spend a lot of money, and they probably want the process to go smooth. Well, that's what you're going to get.
Yes.
If you want to spend a lot of money and you want a long, drawn-out process with a higher skill level required for assembly, then by all means, build what you see that I'm building for, customers.
Yeah.
But, if you're just trying to get on the water and not break the bank, just keep it simple, man. You don't need 13 You've said the joke, like, I got a day box, I got an afternoon
Dude, y'all
box, I got a
kill me
lunch
with all
box.
y'all's
You got
hatches.
19 hatches and a 1436. Like, you just don't.
And I guarantee
just
you,
don't
you
need
will
it.
not open all of those hatches when you go fishing.
No.
Like, I remember when I tore my boat apart, I found stuff in hatches that I didn't even know I had put in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And building some of these bigger boats with bigger hatches, I'm like, dude, this is the ticket.
Yeah,
Like, you just need one really big one. You don't need like 6 small ones.
right.
I've
Who
noticed that
cares?
with not just our boat builds, but a lot of other people are starting to get away from that. A lot of little hatches and
Yeah.
go to bigger sizes that cover more area.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my mindset behind it has always been, I want to be able to put as much stuff in one hatch
Yeah.
as humanly possible. So like when I built my boat, I was like, just give me the 2 biggest hatches you can find. That way I can get everything on the right side of the boat and everything on the left side of the boat. No walls in between. I can shove a whole kayak paddle inside my boat.
Yeah. Well, when I did
Makes
that
more
boat,
sense.
I did the El Diablo build, which is that red low. I mean, dude, the back hatch was the whole back deck was a hatch.
One hatch, yeah.
And that's like the ticket, dude.
Yeah.
When he brought that boat by, he was like, "What are you gonna do that's different from?" And I said, "Man, well, you're gonna have an electric outboard. We need some big batteries back here. We're taking all that out. There's a live well back there." I was like, "We'll put the live well on the front deck, and this thing's gonna be like a car hood. I'm gonna put it on struts. The whole back deck's gonna."
Yeah.
pop. And that was like, man.
And you had a ton of room.
And it
back
was
there.
unique because it's not your standard bass boat, so you can do that because you knew batteries were going to go back there.
Yeah.
So
Now, one thing, especially answering the phones here and the emails, I see this a lot, and you two being bass guys can answer this better than I do. Knowing what you know now, how important is it on that very first build to put a rod locker in?
I say you can put a rod locker in. I would just stay away from the rod tubes.
I would concur with that. I don't know. I never put a rod locker in my first build.
Yeah.
And I also feel like it depends on the size of the boat and what,
Yes.
boats, and especially tiny boats, it's a harmonious balance of what you can fit into the size of the boat.
Yeah.
And so instantaneously, when you're like, I got a 14, and I want to do a rod locker, I want to do a cooler, I want to do a live well, I need a day box, I need a lunch box, I need recessed tray. It's like,
Yeah.
bro, you don't have enough room for all that, man. And that's the fine line, is you've always got to make like sacrifices somewhere and pick the lesser of the two evils, or what's you really, really want to have.
Well, like little things. Like if you want a recessed foot tray, first of all, most people don't understand how big that recessed foot tray is.
Exactly.
Then with that recessed foot tray, they always want a seat.
Yeah.
Well, they don't understand that seat has to be X amount of inches behind that recessed foot tray.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's all your space. That's
Yeah.
your front deck.
Speaking of that, that's another thing that even Nate has talked about, me and you have talked about a lot. When we first started building boats, it was just kind of a customary thing. Recessed foot tray goes as far forward as you can possibly get it.
Right.
Especially in these smaller boat builds, we're finding ourselves moving them further and further and further back, because you get a guy like me that's 240, 250 pounds, and they stand on the front of a 1436 with the whole back end of the boat's out of the
Yeah.
water.
Yep.
Now like we've got that almost 16 footer back there, but hell, we moved it back a foot, 4.5 feet.
I think we did like 43 inches on that one.
Yeah, I mean, we moved it way, way back.
And we made
just
a
to get
big bow plate to compensate for that extra space that was going to be
Yeah.
up there and,
So,
and not used. So
That's, especially if you're new, that's one thing that I think is important to take away from watching some of our older builds, or y'all's older builds. I don't build bass boats, but don't slam that trolling motor tray as far forward as you can go. Same thing with your pedestal seat. If you're a pedestal guy that wants to kind of that lean and post style, and move it back, because
It's gonna be more
especially in
comfortable.
Smaller boats, first thing it does, the whole back end wants to
which
set up.
once you do that, the reason you don't want the back end out is because then you have no way to steer that back end. Like usually you want your outboard motor down the water to keep almost like a
It tracks like a rudder on a kayak.
exactly, like a rudder, like it tracks the rest of the boat. When you have that back end out, you don't have a whole lot of control with your trolling motor up there.
Yeah. So I kind of brought up the rod locker thing because from our standpoint, you know how much work goes into building a rod locker, plus
Yeah.
the extra expense. That's a huge lid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they're the most expensive, one of the more expensive lids that we sell on the website, and to people that are trying to build their own boats. But on the plywood side of it, or if you do the wood side of it, it's not that bad, but it's a special consideration because you got a long, skinny lid, and that's one of the first things that's going to warp.
Well, if you got a 14-foot boat, I mean, dude, some of these guys are like, I've got like a 7-Eleven now for swim baits. I mean, you're
can't
almost
fit
at
an
8
8-foot rod.
Yeah, so you're already taking up so much space, and if that's what you want to do, but here's my deal, man. I throw all my rods in my truck in rod sleeves, either in the front seat or I got a camper shell now in the back, and they ride. And guess what? When I get to the lake, I take them all out. I take all my rod sleeves off, and I put them on the daggone deck, and I strap them down, and then I put the boat in the water, and then, I don't need a rod locker.
Yeah.
I'm not over here on the Elite Series. You know what I'm saying? I don't need 30
Even
rods
then,
and a Jon
Man,
Boat.
you go to some of their electric tournaments and stuff like that. Every single boat out there has all their rods on the deck.
They're on the deck.
What do y'all have a rod locker for in the first place? And I kind of find out later on it's more for traveling.
Yes.
It's those guys that just want to store their rods in their boat and never take them out.
They
Yeah.
don't want the other guys to see what they have tied
Yeah.
on.
And hey,
before
and
the
that's
thing.
perfectly fine. That's you. But all I'm saying is most of the guys that I talk to, they're not building like a 16 to 18 foot tournament boat.
What, right?
Yeah.
Like in a
They're like a
1436,
14. Yeah.
a rod locker is probably not necessary.
No,
You could use
probably
that
not.
space for a lot of other things
Yeah. Like,
than a rod locker.
yeah.
Yeah. Now,
That's the other thing to think about, though, is if your rods are on the deck, they're obviously going to most of the time be towards the side, out by the gunnels, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to have hatches over there.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah,
your
that's a good
rods are
point.
laying there,
Yeah,
That's
so
a
just
good
keep your
point.
hatches.
you're not going to be able to get in
Keep
there.
your hatches off the gunnel. I don't know.
yeah, or do one big hatch in the middle to where you can reach everything up underneath it, even with rods up on top.
Yeah.
You know, and we've done that a lot. We've got a couple of spare rods back there in the back of the shop that we will throw up on decks and, you know, use it
See
to
where
kind of
they're
measure
laying.
stuff
Yeah,
around.
yeah, absolutely.
So those are helpful. So another one that I hear and see a lot is you get into the John Boat game for the first time. People run out and buy the first thing they find that's cheap. Don't even think about the size. All right. So I have a very strong opinion on this. I want to hear what you guys say. Smallest John Boat that you would buy for the first time. What size?
I mean, for me, it's. I know it's awkward. So for me, you know, I have a 12. It's not finished, but I have a 1232. I have a 1436. One day I'm going to get a 16. Every size is for something different.
I was about to say, it
it's
depends
for-
on what you're using it
Yeah,
for.
yeah. So,
Bass. Let's start with bass fishing.
All
If
right.
you were going to bass fish, front deck, back deck, what kind of boat? What's the smallest boat you would say?
well, again, I'm going to ask, like, are you trying to get into tournament fishing? Are you going to be on big lakes? Are you going to be on calmer, like electric only lakes with no wakes? That's what I'm saying. Like you've got to look at what am I going to be doing with this boat, and then that's what you need to buy.
Yep.
So, and I think Ryan would agree. Like if all right, so if a guy said, "Hey man, Ant, I want you to build me a boat. I'm going to be fishing electric only tournaments. I'm going to get on this trail." Then I'm going to say, "Hey man, let's look at getting you like a 16, a bass tracker, 16, 17, a TX 17. We'll gut it, keep it lightweight, give you some big hatches. You know, what's important to you?" And then we just go from there. Now, if you're like, "Hey man, I just want to keep it as cheap as possible, and I just want to get out on the water, but I'm taking it to these like small farm ponds," then hey, let's get you like a 12, you know, or something like my 12 is called a Porta-John, which you came up with the name.
I did. The Porta-John.
I was like, dude, I'm not doing that. And it's just,
It's
is
a catchy
It's a
name.
portable 12-foot John boat, and it slides in the bed of my truck, and it's got those little transom wheels that flip down. It's not done. It's like 9 years in the making, but one day,
It has a sweet paint
if I could
job
ever
on
get people to quit paying me money to build them boats, and I could do the Mike Lopez thing and just make content for a living, then I'll finish the 1232.
it. Maybe one day.
But it's got its own purpose. So I just feel like, you know, where are you going with it, and what are you trying to do with it, and what are your needs? And then once you got that list, then you could look at what you need to look for, and don't just buy the first thing you see.
Okay. Gingy?
I'd say for me and what I use for, like we fish out of that 1436 a lot now, that weekend warrior boat. And it's good, and I really like it, and I enjoy it. But I do wish there was some more space sometimes. Like we put a cooler in there for a live well. We put, you know, the live scope on it now and all that. And space shrinks real quick with two dudes and a bunch of gear for a tournament.
You
So
don't
I'd say
have a
the
lot of stuff.
smallest,
You
the
don't-
absolute smallest I think I would do would be a 1448.
Yeah.
I think that 1448 is almost like a sweet gem
Yeah.
Yeah.
where it's you know, the length is still kind of shorter, but it's long enough to have a bunch of rods everywhere. And then that width gives you the stability in the water.
Just
Yeah.
a little bit more space too
A
for
little more
and
space.
the bottom for hatches.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I think the other equation is how much money you're willing to spend, because that's the thing. A lot of guys get into small boats like 12s or 14s because they just see them on Facebook Marketplace and they're like, "Oh, dude, I get this piece of crap for
Right.
$600." You're not getting a 16 footer for, you know what I mean? Unless it's
Not
been unless
anymore.
it's been to Hades and back.
And if you do, it's going to take a lot more to get it
Dude,
on
because-
the water.
Yeah.
I was seriously looking, and we've talked. I was seriously looking around the COVID time at doing a 16 and getting a 16, going ahead and getting it, and prices just went like
Dude, they went
stupid,
skyrocketed.
stupid, like $3,000, for I know what I got. I know it's gutted and it's got the tree fell on it in the
No
yard.
leaks. Don't mind
but
that
it's,
crack.
it's a TX-17 and
Flex Seal
I
commercial
already
boat.
started building it and it looks like, you know what I mean? Like Ray Charles welded some
Yeah.
stuff inside of it. And he's like, you know, $4,000, no low balls.
Yeah.
You know, for real. I mean,
Yeah.
so I'm now to the point to where I'm so busy, I can't, even if I had a boat and got a good deal on it, I wouldn't ever have the time to work on it.
Yeah.
So I might just ride this storm out until I have more time or have more money and just go get me a Grizzly.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, how
Yeah.
much money you got to throw around?
No,
Because I always say, like, bigger, I wouldn't say bigger is better, but man, if I could just be in like a
I don't, it's not
16
so
or.
much that bigger is better. I just think wider is better.
Yeah, dude.
Like for me, I don't care what size boat you get, as long as it is at least 48 inches wide.
Yeah.
Now, there's one caveat I'll throw in there for the guys that like the long tail mud motors, because they're not going anywhere because they're cheap. That's the cheapest way to get a gasoline motor on a boat and get out on the water. If you were going to run the cheapest $99 Harbor Freight Predator 212, 1436 is your game. But you just got to understand that you're going to be limited on one, space, and two, stability. I would not want to stand up and bass fish all day like y'all do on that 1436. I don't even like running.
But you're also heavier than us.
yeah, you're
I mean,
Fluffy,
like,
you can say it.
You're, nah,
well, but that is a factor.
I'm
Like,
full figured.
if you're a 200-pound dude, you know, you're probably not going to be in a 1436.
Well, I mean, I could if it was.
dude, hey,
You
man,
could do it. Like,
you're
you,
thick with two C's.
you and I have been in that boat together multiple
Yeah, but
times.
sitting down, it's fine. But if I was gonna,
The
like, if I
only
was
time
gonna
I'm
catfish
scared
out
of
that
falling out of that boat is when you're in it with me.
boat, standing up.
When me and Patrick are in it, it's fine.
But y'all are both smaller,
Right.
and y'all. I guess if y'all know each other well and you know your fishing habits and you
Yeah.
know how people are.
So-
but like
so-
if I was in there with you, dude, I'm not very nimble. Like I can't.
Well, that,
He sneezes, and I almost fly out the boat.
but this is great to talk about because this is a good segue. This is why I like hate the internet, because you've got guys out there that you're doing it wrong. You need it. You know what I mean? There's so many things that need to be considered.
Yes.
And just because it doesn't work for you doesn't necessarily mean it don't work for another guy. Because I've seen Ryan in my 1436. What lake were we out on? Your lake. What is the lake right up the road that we fished that tournament? Well, all them bass boats were flying by, dude. And I was like, I'm like, screw this, dude.
We went to Jackson.
Was it Jackson?
Oh, y'all were
Jackson.
Jackson.
Dude,
Yeah.
and
It's my
Ryan was
home
like,
lake, baby.
Ryan was up on the bow of that thing, dude, pitching his little freaking finesse rod. Dude, we were like, I felt like we were in the ocean. Like the swells. I was
Yeah.
like, man, I was just
Well,
up.
but
You
see, got good stability.
So,
though.
but that's what I'm saying. It's a loaded question. When guys hit me on YouTube or in comments and they're like, oh, how's the stability? I'm like, well, it's a loaded question because you got a Ninja and then you got like thick with two C's.
Yeah,
And
with no
stability
balance.
is going to be, you know.
I have the balance of a newborn baby giraffe trying to ice skate.
So when you're buying a boat, you need to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
So if you're like a ninja, or are you like a little dancing sprite, or are you like a guy that likes to, like, when he goes to Wendy's, he's getting that triple, the Baconator,
I do like the triple
extra
Baconator.
fries, chili fries.
I need the triple patties.
I think you're right. There is a lot to consider. The other thing that, and y'all don't think about this as much, because y'all are both into the electric scene, but what you're going to be running on it as far as motor is also going to play a big factor. Like, if you're going to run, just say like the Spirit 1.0 Plus from E-Propulsion, it's a 3 horsepower equivalent.
Cardboard transom.
Yeah,
Just
you can
stick-
put it on anything, and it's
Doesn't
going to go
matter.
somewhere between 5 and 3 miles an hour.
Get you a 55-gallon drum, cut it in half, stick it on the back,
Put the Spirit on the back of that,
and it'll
thing.
get you there.
It'll
Yep.
get you there.
Now, if you're planning on
To
stepping
Cuba,
up,
if you want to go that way, which some people are here are doing.
there's a lot of stuff in that Facebook group. I've seen some wild.
No. I was making a political joke. For years, Cubans were trying to get here and like
Yeah.
styrofoam coolers with weed eaters on the
Yeah.
back. Well,
Yeah.
now I heard Americans are actually trying to.
Get to Cuba, yeah. But you step up to a bigger motor, even one of these bigger Elcos, the big E-Propulsion motor. You're not sticking that and batteries to run that thing on something tiny.
More motor, more battery, more space in the boat.
Yeah, it needs to be able to float more weight, one. And two, you're going to have the just the sheer amount of space it takes to take up that many batteries or that
Yeah,
big
'cause
of a battery.
believe it or not, getting a 200-pound battery in and out of a boat is a pain in the ass.
Oh, you say?
Have you ever done that, Anthony?
I've seen it done. You need a small excavator or like a crane,
Yeah.
We use forklift.
forklift,
We use a forklift.
maybe like an engine
I've heard
hoist.
of guys getting the refrigerator movers. They
Yeah.
get the big straps.
Oh yeah,
They put the battery on the straps and they hoist it down in.
man, this is like a wormhole. We could do a whole episode on because honestly, when you do like power to weight, you know,
Yeah.
power to weight in a boat, and then a lot of guys that I've seen lately are some of these rednecks and paychecks in Georgia that are getting these big outboards. They're like more horsepower.
Yeah.
But you
They're
got to think,
throwing
you got
120s
it's a
and
balance,
150s
and
on little
it's a
small
balance
boats.
because the more horsepower, the more juice, and to have that battery set up, it's a lot of weight, and so it's like fighting against you. And honestly, man, I think that these different manufacturers are skewering their horsepower.
Oh,
ratings.
well, yeah.
I don't think there's any. They're basing it on torque and not.
Well, they're basing it off of what, like the first 90 seconds of runtime.
Yeah, when the battery's
So-
fully
so,
charged.
like-
Yeah,
You're
so
talking
it's
about
just-
electric, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's how they
It's
do it.
it's all it is very skewed.
Yeah.
But it's
so,
also skewed in the fact that they're not doing true horsepower numbers. They're doing a horsepower equivalent.
which is at the manufacturer's discretion. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's almost like fake news. It's like, well, ours is a 10.
Yeah.
Well, ours is a 10. Well, why is that other 10 outrun this 10?
Or
Like,
why is this 10 outrunning that 20?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
That's
exactly.
what I see a lot.
And so it's just an interesting subject. And then again, going back to cost.
No, yeah.
You know, if I could get like 7 miles an hour on like a 6 horsepower outboard, which I do, I get like 7.6 on my 14 with that 6 horsepower. Why would I need to upgrade to a 9.9? And spend like, I don't know, thousands more to get maybe
Yeah.
a few more top speed? Is it that
Which
valuable?
you
to
really
me?
honestly might not even get.
You might
when
not,
when you go to
because
that, like
yeah.
6 to 9.
6 to 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say I got okay.
And because of the added weight.
And I've done it on video. So I have the ePropulsion Spirit 1.0 Plus, which is a 3 horsepower. How ePropulsion
Equivalent. It's a 3
top
horsepower
speed in my
equivalent.
1436 was 6 miles an hour. Now guess what? We went from a 3 horsepower to now a 6 horsepower. So we doubled horsepower. So I've got the Navy 6 horsepower ePropulsion, 48 volt battery, more weight, a little bit more weight, 3 more horsepower, 7.6 top speed.
Yep.
So I went from a 3 horsepower to a 6 horsepower, didn't double my top speed. Dude, I got minimal 1.6 more on camera.
You find that in gas
And
motors
so
too,
so
though.
so when you take those data points and then you start looking at it from a financial standpoint, when you make that next jump from that 6 to the 9.9, you got to have another battery pack.
Yeah.
And that's a substantial cost difference.
and
And
weight.
wait.
And so you're gonna get more power, but you're gonna lose it because now it's almost like you're adding another small
Yeah.
child in the boat. I
Yeah.
mean, those batteries, I think they're like 90 pounds now. The earlier Navy ones were like 60 something.
They're
I don't
heavy.
know what those what are they? The E8?
E175.
Oh, those are like 200 pounds.
That's like 215 or something like that.
Yeah.
221.
221.
221. And then the E80 was 90 something.
No, that was like 110 or something.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
just waiting for like Elon Musk to come up with like some like diamond thing that you just like a chip you put in the outboard and then it just runs for days.
But then you
know?
take that same conversation and you turn it back around to gas motors. Same thing. You got a lot of guys running these 9.9s and stepping up to 15s and 20s thinking they're going to double their speed. And a lot of time, the boat is what's holding them back. You get these old ratty Jon boats, got a lot of hooks in the bottom of them. A lot of them are not really designed for speed.
Yeah.
You made max. It's just really bad in the longtail world. You look at the longtail mud motors. I got on my old 1436. I could run 16 miles an hour with a Predator 212, which is the smallest, cheapest motor that Harbor Freight sold. I stepped up to a 13 horsepower, and it would probably go faster, but you couldn't control it. You couldn't keep the prop in the water. So my maxed out speed was like 21, 22. I should have been doing in the 30s or more. Never could do it because the motor's so heavy on the back. On a boat road like this, especially when you put me in there, being as heavy as I am, and you throw a big motor like that. But yeah, there's a lot to consider
Yeah.
with the newer style.
It's
boats.
not just, this is what I hate the most when I go over my emails. someone says, "Hey, I got a 1436, and I want to build it out," and like that's
What
all
do I
they
buy?
put. And I'm like, I need a little more information than that, bud.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I'm trying to help you out here, but you're kind of like,
Yeah.
or I have a, I don't know, or most of the time they don't even have holes anymore. They're like, "What's a good hole if I want to
Yeah, we do get that question a lot.
do a live well in the rod locker and all this?" I'm like, "Well, what do you fish for? Where do you fish? Like, what lake are you in? You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
what kind of outboard are you gonna run?"
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then I can tell you if you're going to need even a deep V or if you need a flat bottom or you
Yeah.
could get away with a mod V or whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? Like, but if I'm going out where Mike's at, I want a deep V.
Yeah. There's a massive boats out
I
there.
do not want a flat bottom on Lake
No.
Havasu.
No.
And I don't want a flat bottom on Lake Lanier, you know, unless I'm doing electric only. But if I was doing gas, there's no way. Dude, I would have something, I don't know.
You
It
need
w-
a
it
high
wouldn't be a
side.
flat bottom,
You
no.
need something with high sides on
You
it.
need a higher sides, yeah. Because those people are stupid.
There's a lot of idiots in Lake Lanier. Yep. Now, here's another one for both you guys. Starting out, I know you started with wood and you started with wood.
Mm-hmm.
You still recommend for the guys that are on a budget to start with wood, or is it worth it extra cost to go aluminum?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I just can't put it in a customer's project without like some sort of contract that if it falls apart down the road, it's not. I'm not liable.
But you still think it's a viable option though
Yeah,
for the guys
yeah,
that are
yeah,
just
yeah,
getting in
yeah.
and they're on a budget.
Absolutely, absolutely. Save you a bunch of money. You need a circular saw, bare minimal tools. Get you some carpet and some glue. You know how it looks. The finished product is based on your skill set.
Yeah.
You know, you could make it look really nice and you can make it look really crappy, honestly. I've seen both. So I do recommend it. I would recommend doing the wood. I use 1/2-inch exterior grade. So if you go to like Home Depot or Lowe's, just make sure you get 1/2-inch.
No pressure treated.
No, I'm going to backtrack because in my boat I used like 11/32, and
Yeah.
I was hell bent on keeping everything. I'm going to use cedar, which is so much lighter than like even aluminum, and I'm going to use instead of 1/2-inch, I'm going to use 11/32. I'm going to put runners underneath that. You know, I overcomplicated some stuff, but I have that skill set to overcomplicate. A lot of guys may not. So to keep it simple, anytime anybody reaches out, like, hey man, I want to do something simple, I want to keep it cheap, 1/2-inch plywood. Just get the exterior because the way they rate plywood when they press the veneers between exterior and just standard is the exterior is graded as an exterior because they use water resistant glue. So if it gets wet, it's not going to just blow out on you and delaminate.
Yeah.
So get you some exterior and then, hey, you know what? Give it a 2-step. Hit it with some resin on the top. You know what I'm saying? Hit it on the bottom if you want. Just the top would be good because that's where rain comes from. It doesn't come from underneath.
Yeah.
You know, guys are, oh, you don't do resin underneath. Well, no, I don't think it's going to rain underneath your hatches, but I mean, if you want to, you can do whatever you want to do, but you know, keep it simple, man. Do big hatches, wood, carpet. You can do that.
Yeah.
And if you want to ball out till you fall out, get on TBNation.net and order you some lids and some aluminum. And then that's like the next level up.
I don't like wood. I feel like once you kind of price it out, you're not too far off. Like, what do you think the price difference is between framing in wood and framing in aluminum on 1436?
Well, the economy's changed a lot of that stuff. I think it's competitive.
Yeah, well, but that's what I'm saying. I think it's
I mean,
close.
I don't know if it's
that-
so close though.
I don't think you're really
I think
saving.
how we do it is so close.
Yeah,
I think how we do it now with 1x2 tube, welding it together.
that's true because you're only paying whatever a foot. Yeah.
I think that's
I mean,
very.
I'm not, like just think about the DIY. The guy that's watching this at home.
I still think aluminum. I don't like the wood. I don't like, and what I didn't like about the wood was the time that it took to cut everything out, get it in place, and then pull it all off, and resin coat everything
Yeah.
or seal it, and then going through that. That was like a week process.
It's a lot of
for me.
work.
Yeah,
and then-
wood is a lot more work. But if you're going to be cheap, you're going to spend more time.
Well,
Exactly.
That's just part
Well,
of
but I
it.
understand. But like, once you get all that done, and then you put it back into the boat, 3 years later,
Yeah.
it's all bubbling up and the whole thing's coming
Yeah.
apart. In my opinion, I just like the aluminum
Yeah.
better. Now knowing what I know,
Yeah.
I like the aluminum better.
You're not hurting my feelings.
I'm split right down the middle
and
between
that's
the
the
two
thing.
of
Like
y'all.
you have a beautiful
Thank you.
wood frame boat. Like
But I keep it in the garage, so that's another thing to
Exactly,
consider.
Yeah,
But
but
you know,
you did it right though. I mean, you went through every last little nook and cranny and make
Yeah.
sure everything was either sealed with resin or the
Yeah.
oil-based enamel.
Yeah.
Like you went way out of
And
your
it's
way
been
to
wet.
make sure. Yeah.
the
My-
drain
dude,
plug.
dude, I should have. Oh my
What was it,
gosh,
the
I'm
drain
like kick.
plug?
Yeah,
Drain
bro.
plug.
I
Did
should
you
have.
forget?
Yeah.
Let's start. Have you ever forgotten your drain plug?
Yes.
That time, and I was
I did on video.
okay.
Couple
So
times.
so it's me and my wife, and we're on Bear Creek, and dude, we were out there a long time. It's like an hour and a half, and she's like, oh my. I don't remember what happened. I just remember her saying that like her bag, she had like a day bag in the front, like in the cockpit or whatever up front, and she's like it's soaking wet or something, and I like walk up there, and I don't know why. I guess it's because she was like sunbathing on the front deck, and the water was coming in the back, and it finally filled up enough to where it was just coming through the floor in the front of the
Oh
boat,
yeah.
and her bag was just absorbing like all this water, and then I popped the back, dude, it was a lot of water. so of course at that point I hit the bilge, but we went back, and I was just so perplexed that it had happened and just kind of in shock. I didn't even film it, dude. I mean, that looking back, I was like, dude, what? I should have filmed that. That would have been awesome. I was just, dude, I was like licking my wounds because I had to put it on the trailer and get out of the water. I was like, nah, we're going home. We're done.
At least you didn't do it on video.
But if I would have gotten it on video, it would have proved to people that boat was like flooded
Right.
Yeah.
3 or 4 inches into the floor, and everything was still fine.
Yeah.
Like there was no long-term damage.
Right.
And I took the floor out after the fact and everything just to check, and everything was good.
Yeah.
So
I'm kind of split between the two of y'all's opinions. So I like the aluminum framing with the plywood decks. I think that's
Yeah.
the easiest for me to explain to somebody. And the only reason that I go that direction is because it's hard to get somebody to reliably and leak-free a way to attach the framing of the wood to the decking material. So it's just easier for me to go, hey, get you some aluminum angle. It's not that expensive. Even if you get it at Home Depot, you can go 1/8 if you want to. Attach that, make that your runners so that you have a way to attach everything, and then frame it out. Rivets are easy, as long as you watch a video or two. And then go plywood decks, just like you did. Either oil-based enamel.
well, I did it on one of the first customer deals. I did do it for a
Yeah,
guy.
it was a hybrid, wasn't it?
That's
it
what Mike
was.
calls it. It was a hybrid.
It was
Yeah.
all aluminum, and it was riveted together,
Yeah.
1/16 angled, and that boat was freaking clean.
Yeah.
It was a nice boat, but that guy, like, we went over that conversation, and I hey, I'm gonna do everything I can, but if you get this boat wet 1,000,000 times and leave it outside in your yard, I mean, you're not gonna be left with a lot,
Yeah.
not long from now. So,
Yeah. And you just have to have that mindset going in, knowing that if you do use wood, there is a chance at some point you're going to be replacing it. It is not going to be your forever.
Yeah.
for your forever.
well, I
deck.
mean, it's just like we were talking earlier about all the other things with buying a boat and what you're going to do. It's the same thing with how you build your boat. It's just a value proposition of how much you want to spend, how much time you want to spend, where you're going to store it.
Mm-hmm.
If you plan on fishing every monsoon that comes,
Yeah.
because there's guys like me that if it looks like 90% chance of rain and it's not a tournament, I'm just
I
not
ain't
going that day.
Yeah, I ain't going. Now, here's another one that I'm going to throw in there. And this is going to ruffle some feathers for people listening. But I 150 million% do not care about leaks in a boat. That's why God made bilge pumps. I think that is one of the first things that you should buy for every single boat, and I put 2 in every boat that we build here, an automatic one and a manual one. There's no goop, slop, tape, nothing that you can slap on the bottom of a Jon boat to stop leaky rivets. And I know that's why people, out there on the internet, and they're like, oh, you got a mile welded boat, they never leak. They crack. Those are a lot harder to fix than a leaky rivet. But I mean, hell, so my boat, we went to a river run up in South Carolina a couple years ago. This dude over here freaking out. He's up ankle deep in water. I'm like,
In the boat?
in my boat.
So,
And I'm like, dude,
Dude, first of all, I lift up his front hatch, and there's just one rivet that's just barely hanging out.
did you could like you can move
And
it.
there's water just pouring in. I'm like, Chris, you know about this rivet, right? He goes, oh yeah, it's all right. I'm like, yeah, you got a bilge pump, right? He's like, no.
yeah.
I was still
When we get on
building my
plane,
boat.
I'll pull the plug.
Yeah. And that's what I did, and it works. It does work. That was when I was still building my boat. I didn't have a bilge pump in there, but now,
his Jon Boat's not only a Jon Boat, but it's also like a hot tub.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It was
I
like
just-
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'll disagree with you on that, like strongly.
I just don't care. I don't care about
That-
leaking
that's,
rivets.
fi- that's fine.
People
I mean,
freak out. That is like the number one question on the Facebook
No,
group. Is,
I-
my rivets are leaking. What do I do? You can tighten them if you want, but dude, it's a boat.
I will say I have become more lenient as far as like not being as worried about the boat hull being fully sealed.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're right. You do have a bilge pump. Shit really does get that bad. It's gonna pump it out.
It's a boat, not a
But-
submarine.
but
it does
I
not
also
matter how
don't-
much you try to make it a submarine.
I
It
also
will never be a submarine.
Don't think you need 3/16" holes in your hull
No.
when you could just fill that with a rivet.
No.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you could. Yeah.
Like nowadays, I'm not even worried to like. I mean, I obviously wouldn't do this on a customer's boat, but like a closed-end rivet, I don't know if that really does much more than just a standard rivet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Standard rivets really don't let much water through, like you
No.
think they do.
Not
Yeah.
a lot.
But I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I
on it.
just don't worry about it.
I mean, I just water bad.
Water bad.
keep it dry.
Good.
I, I
keep it
like
dry.
wood, so water bad.
Water bad. Yeah. It's like wood is wood's Batman and water's Joker. You don't want Joker in the boat. She won't float.
I don't get that mentality. I just.
No, I
don't know.
get it. You know, there's some stigma about like, oh, it's just old Jon Boat and we're out here on the farm pond. You know, don't mind it. That's fine. That's not what I'm trying to do. I want my stuff to not get water in it. But
Bilge pump.
I have-
and a cheese ball bucket.
I have
That is
fished out
all
of
you need.
plenty of Jon Boats with water in the bottom of them. So
Mine rode around all weekend in South Carolina with what, 40 gallons of water in the bottom of it.
Yeah, and you're sitting here bragging about it like it was cool.
It wasn't cool.
But it was
just-
not cool.
It didn't sink, and we didn't die.
Yeah, because we were in like 2 inches of water.
That's where you should be fishing at. But did you die?
No,
Exactly.
I did not.
I don't like the people smearing crap all over the bottom of their boats because I did that Gator Glide video a long time ago and I saw
that's your fault. You started that.
Gator Glide probably hates me for doing that video now because they probably get 1,000 calls about it. But it's just like everybody's just trying to find a way to seal the entire bottom of their boat. I'm like, it ain't gonna happen. As soon as you take that thing out on the trailer, the whole transom or the whole bottom of the boat's gonna flex.
People don't understand also how hard it is to get stuff to actually stick or adhere
Yes.
to aluminum.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible.
Now, not to just be devil's advocate over here, but I have been using a different. I don't even know if I want to say who they are because I don't want Gator Glide to get mad at you.
They won't. I mean, I'm not sponsored by them. I bought their
so-
stuff. I called them. I was like, hey, I'm doing a video just so you know. Sorry about your bad luck.
So I've used this product twice now on personal boat 1232, and then the customer's boat, the Grizzly.
The
Fasco Super Slick.
Slick.
But I can't tell you because I haven't like really field tested it. But I could tell you what it's supposed to do. And it's supposed because it's epoxy, it's supposed to bind and actually flex and not flake off and not crack.
Oh,
And it
okay.
goes on thick and it goes on quick. You just better work it. Ryan knows because he saw pictures the first time I ever put it on. I did not read
You sent
instructions.
me the pictures too.
Yeah.
It was not
Yeah,
good.
It was
You
not
were having
pretty.
a bad
Thank you,
time.
Fasco, for sending me another half gallon.
You were not having a good day, were you?
That was not a good day. That was not
Yeah.
a good day.
Yeah.
But now that I did that one, I just did the Grizzly I'm doing, and dude, it was freaking super easy, and it came out really nice.
I'm sure a lot of that comes down to surface prep. And
Yes.
most of what I see in failures is because they didn't take the time to prep it
Yeah.
right. And to really do a surface prep job correctly
Yeah.
is more work than most people are willing to put in.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a pain. You spend more time prepping.
Yeah, and it
Than
should be
anything.
that way. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same way with painting stuff. You spend more time prepping than you do actually painting. Painting's the easy part.
And so with the one we did is a brand new Grizzly 1754, and we hit it with a wire wheel, the whole bottom. They recommend like get to aluminum. If that's
Really?
what, yeah, they just get to aluminum, just grind it all, just get to bare aluminum. So we did the whole bottom, and now I didn't do it. My guy did it. Chris, his name's Chris. 6 hours maybe, I think. You know?
Oh, the guy that works for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I think he had 6 hours of time, to do the whole bottom.
just in
Just-
just wire wheeling it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time. And now think about this though. That's a brand new boat with no rivets.
Oh yeah, it's welded boat.
So, and I know for a fact
if
you've
you-
seen that 1232, dude. That thing looked like somebody beat it with a baseball bat. And I was
Yeah.
replacing rivets.
Yeah. So if you had rivets,
If you
that
had
time would have
rivets-
been much
If
longer.
you had rivets and dents and dings and stuff that like you had to grind and get in, and even there's spots I had to like hand sand, with
Yeah.
like 40 grit just to, because
Right.
you can only get so far. So, but I've only taken that boat out a few times for testing.
So you brought up a good point. That's another newbie kind of thing that I see a lot. And me being a painter, I can attest to this. So we get a lot of people that are asking about painting boats. And there's two things I want to talk about with that. One is your surface prep. If you get a new boat, or not even a new boat, if you get a boat that has a decent paint job on it, when I say decent, I mean it's not flaking, peeling, cracking. It's still in good shape. It may be worn, it may be kind of like faded looking. That paint is adhered to your boat well. You do not have to remove it to paint your boat. All you need to do is scuff it really, really good. Gray or red Scotch-Brite pads is what I like to do. If you want to do it by hand, there's some fancy tools out there. You can buy DA sanders and stuff like that to put a Scotch-Brite or a scuff-type pad on there. That's all you need. Now, if you are going the opposite direction, if you got a boat that is cracking, peeling, stuff's flaking off of it, that needs to go back down to bare aluminum. The reason being is because your original paint job is not going to hold new paint because it's already failing. But if you got a boat that's in halfway decent shape, you got one of them Alumacrafts from, Academy or whatever, and it's still got the green paint on it, but it's just faded, scuff it and paint it.
Yeah.
Brings me to my second point. I get so many questions about what paint to use on your boat. Now, I know you like the Alumahawk, and I've tried the Alumahawk. It's good paint. There's nothing wrong with
At
it.
this point, I think we've tried like
Pretty much.
three different
Yeah.
manufacturers. And
The top, what is it? The Total Boat paint. We tried it. We've done the automotive style paints.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna just save you a whole bunch of time and money and headache. Just use whatever you can find at Lowe's or Home Depot. Rust-Oleum works just fine. The thing with the Jon Boat is where you take Jon Boats fishing is not like where you take bass boats fishing. You are at some point going to run into your trailer, run into a dock, hit a bump, hit a stump, hit a down tree or something like that. You're going to scratch your paint.
And it's like you're not even gonna just hit your trailer because you did something stupid. It's because of the
Getting
wind.
getting in and off your trailer.
in the conditions that you're fishing in, or the ramp, the way the ramp is, like good boaters hit their trailer.
Yeah.
Like it just happens.
Unless you are in the paint industry, like you paint cars or you paint, motorcycles or something for a living, and you just have that paint laying around, there is no reason in the world to use anything other than just cheap old Rust-Oleum or like a Lumahawk,
Yeah.
or some kind of roll-on paint on a Jon Boat.
I like the Alumahawk because the problem with it is that they have limited colors.
Yeah,
So if you're
very
cool with
limited.
like black or royal blue or white or gray
or green.
or green,
That,
but
like,
man,
Jon
when
Boat
you
style
open that
green.
can, dude, that you be high.
Oh yeah,
Pop a window,
it's a solid
open the
base
garage
paint,
door,
yeah.
dude, because you open that Seahawk, Alumahawk, Jon Boat paint, buddy. Get you a huff of that.
Yep.
That's when you know that's some juice. That's like, that's when you know that you can hit some stumps and hit some trailers. And man, even mine, like I've whacked it, I've dinged it, but dude, it holds pretty good, man. It really
Yeah.
does. That stuff, I feel like the paint thing is good, better, and best. And that's a whole nother, how much money are you willing to spend
Yeah.
on product?
Yeah.
If you want something like something fancy, looks like, like a freaking Ferrari,
Yeah,
you're gonna spend
but you
some
gotta
money.
you gotta understand though that if you would take a car and do the things to a car that we do with boats,
Yeah.
it's gonna get scratched.
Yep.
It's gonna get dings in it. And guess what? It is really expensive to repaint a car.
Yeah.
Just like it's really expensive to repaint a bass boat.
And if you buy really good paint, just like turf, man, you buy like 9 rolls of C deck, and you don't know how to use a razor knife,
Oh yeah.
and you don't even clean the inside of your boat. But then that's the guy that's going to be on the product reviews. This stuff sucks. It peeled right off in the sun,
Did
and it's
not
like,
last.
yeah. It's
And
like,
prep
bro,
right.
and it's the same thing with the paint. You could buy. A lot of people ask some of the boats that and probably with you guys too. Hey, what color? What manufacturer? What was this? And with that cost, just remember, if you spend $300 or $400 in paint, and you don't do a good prep job, and then it peels off,
Yep.
Yeah.
you're out a whole lot more money than just buying like.
Spend the time, prep it right. $40 gallon of Rust-Oleum just works just fine.
And
the
there's
Limahawk's
stuff.
not crazy
And nah,
expensive.
it's not. It's like I want to say, I don't know, $80 maybe. Maybe it's
it's sub
$100. I
100.
don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But, and I'm gonna continue to try different stuff just to try different stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what might come down the pipeline.
Nah,
as
man.
far as
So
products.
because I had to get an LLC. I go in Sherwin-Williams one day, and they're like, "Well, you could do a business account or whatever."
Yeah.
And so I did that, and then I guess the rep, it's funny. He calls me a lot.
Oh yeah, he wants you to buy paint.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't understand my operation. And I told him, and he's like, "Well, we got this new this, and I'll give you this." And I'm like, "So okay, so we're gonna just try some stuff." That's the thing with DuPont PPG, dude. They're always coming up with some new crap in the lab.
Yeah.
So, and
Yep.
even in the years that we've been doing it, like you guys know, the stuff back then when I did that first boat and to now, I'm like, man, these cats got it easy, dude.
Oh,
I wish
yeah.
I could just get online and order lids or, get
God, yeah.
even turf.
We have done the dirty work.
Yep.
A lot of that stuff didn't exist.
I remember when thinking about making a hatch, like, drove me insane.
Yeah,
Like,
how-
how was I going to do the hinge?
Yeah, the hinge.
Like, the hinge was your nightmare.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And now you can just buy them.
Now you could just get
buy
them.
'em. Yeah.
Yeah, the L piano hinge that Nate sells,
It's funny,
The
actually.
offset.
offset
Yeah, the
like half,
offset
and it works
hinge.
with a half inch. That's why I tell guys now just do half inch because you don't have to worry about the hinge.
Yeah.
Or
scenario.
hell, even all the hell that Mike went through trying to come up with a Gen X lid.
Well, my
It's
favorite.
still easy. It's just a lot. It's time consuming,
Yeah.
but it's an easy lid to build.
It's funny because we had to create that offset hinge,
Yeah.
right? Because you couldn't buy it anywhere.
Yeah, and they had to have that custom made.
They had to have it custom made, so we are really the only ones that carry an offset hinge for this purpose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because guys will get so mad at us for something that they just misread and misunderstood. Be
All
like,
about the
We
sizing.
still love you.
I
though.
don't want to buy I don't want that junk, bro. Take it off, cancel, give me my money back. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'll buy it somewhere else. I'm like, all right. Cancel, refund, give them their money back, right?
2 hours later.
No, not even 10 minutes later. Well, I couldn't find this anywhere else. I'll just go ahead and buy it from you.
Yeah, that's
and I
what I
was like,
thought.
I know, because like we had to
Yeah.
make this stuff for us. Like,
A lot of the stuff.
Yes.
A lot of the stuff, man, dude, we could talk about this all day because I'm really passionate about not only like creating content, which is a whole nother creative side of like building a boat is creative.
Yeah.
And then I get to redo that all over again by creating a video, that has kind of like my energy and my stamp on how I create that or present it. But I could really dive into like talking about the evolution of stuff. And I just think it's like so fascinating that, there's been guys that modified Jon Boats for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but none of them were doing it on YouTube. And it just so happened that the first guys that started doing it on YouTube also are the guys that like grew the social media stuff and then developed products
Yeah.
Yeah.
and have put it into production to when all the while people were, well, nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to buy that. And now we see what's
Yeah.
happened. And now it's actually starting to get the attention of some big industry names,
Yeah.
Yep.
dude.
It
I
really
mean, and
has.
you guys both know, like, there's some big names. There's some check mark. Now everybody could get a check mark on Instagram, but
Yeah.
man, I got some check marks that follow, and it's pretty cool to think of some of these pro fishermen or companies that follow just a dude that was just building a Jon Boat, in his garage
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
for just, and it's the same thing with you guys and Mike. I mean, it's just the evolution of the whole thing. Like
That's
even
a
even
good idea for a future episode.
yeah, even just like Nate early on and how he did his whole thing. It's just really cool. A lot of pieces to the puzzle to get this to where it's at. And if anybody's watching, you just or listening, just tuning in, and you don't know who any of these people are. It's a lot of origin story.
Yeah,
This
there
is
a
pretty
lot.
cool.
Well, that's a really good topic. We'll do that for another episode. So, well, we're gonna start wrapping up. Did you have anything else?
Ron's about to fall asleep. He's like, dude.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't talk much, so this
Nah,
is.
it's
do
all
you
right.
do you have anything else that you want to throw out there for the newbies?
No. No.
Call our main line, hit extension 2. You can talk to Ryan.
Do
any
not
day.
hit extension 2.
Don't email me because I don't have a person.
You don't answer. You're not cool. Anything that you can think of that we left out, or anything you particular?
I don't know.
Nothing.
I don't. We still love you. If we said anything, we still love everybody.
You
Yeah.
guys have helped us get to where we are, and you guys
Yes.
are a part of this whole evolution as well.
Yes.
So we do greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Y'all are the inspiration that keeps us going and trying to find new stuff. You know, it's like we're out here messing with all. What is that stupid plastic boat that you brought in here the other day that I gotta make a freaking kit for now?
Dude, that boat is awesome.
Dude, I like the boat.
1, 2,
Yeah,
people like it.
yeah.
3, it's only going to be here for a little bit.
Yeah, I know. But that's why we keep doing what we're doing, because you guys asked for it. So that's what we're here for. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like and all that good stuff. Leave a comment. And seriously, if you do go in the comment section, you have something you want to hear any of us talk about in the future, you got ideas for future episodes, we'd love to hear them. We do read all of the YouTube comments. And if you are listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, make sure that you rate this. That is
5-star.
very important that you rate this podcast, because that's what helps everybody else know that we even have a podcast.
And also thank you to tbnation.net for allowing us to bring you guys these podcasts.
Yep.
And
Anthony, thank you for being here. We appreciate.
No, thank you. This is great.
Make sure you check out Anthony, Brigade Boats.
Yep.
Yes,
YouTube.
YouTube is just Anthony Jones, and Instagram is ADUB Dub Jones. If you have no idea who just ADub Jones.
And you're on the book face too.
Yeah, dude, I hate Facebook, so don't even go there. Just
Don't get on
if
my
you
book
want
face.
if you truly want like the best I have to offer, Instagram and YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah.
Instagram's like photos and short form content, and then YouTube is like the long form content, tutorials, builds. Not on TikTok. I know you guys are TikTok.
I'm off
famous.
TikTok.
Are you?
Oh, yeah, I canceled that.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
got that.
man, they got kids getting run over by boats and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
TikTok's like the Trojan horse for the invasion of communist China over here. I don't know, man. I just don't,
I love me some TikTok.
If you got
I'm
a million
sorry.
followers on TikTok because you fart in jars, I just can't put my stuff on that platform. I know all the kids are going to hate me.
I haven't seen that one yet.
No,
You're
I'm
not
just
on TikTok.
I'm just,
You better
I'm
get
just-
on the TikTok.
Just making
no,
stuff
I'm
up.
good. I'll be all right.
All right. Thanks everybody for
Thanks, guys.
watching. Hey, and don't forget your drain plug.
Your drain plug.
We've all forgotten a drain plug once.
Oh, I see what you did there. I did forget the
You
term.
do like that.
It took me an hour and a half to figure that out.